good, everybody? It's your boy Everson. Today we're talking about US Mobile and the 3 networks that they do offer for their plans. I have been using all 3. I'm actually on the wrapping up the first billing cycle or first 30 days of Darkstar. Spoiler alert, it's pretty good. But I'm going to talk about some of the characteristics each network has or what I've experienced. And just heads up, there is an affiliate link for US Mobile in the description and in the comment section. It'll be a pinned comment. If you do want to help out the channel, you click on that link. It'll take you right to US Mobile and it will help out the channel. This is going to be kind of subjected to my experience. I have lived in San Antonio, but I've been all over Texas, and also same thing with Florida, and I've been all over Florida with these services, testing them out. So, I'm going to give you what I've experienced and some consistencies that aren't just specific to those locations, but there are some things that I have noticed. US Mobile does have like a tool to help you choose which service is best for you by putting in some information like your address or your current carrier. I don't find it to be accurate. In fact, I put in a friend's address that I know I have absolutely no service over there. It actually gives me the no signal, like the circle with the line through it, and says no service. It tells me that I have 95% coverage over there. This is something that I want to talk about to help you understand how it works, see what's best for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk about each version of the service and tell you, the pros and the cons. So I'm going to start out with Lightspeed first. Lightspeed is using T-Mobile's infrastructure. They do have their 5G network, which also goes up to their ultra capacity or their gigabit speeds as well. And also they do use their mid-band technology as well. Places where you can't get ultra capacity, you are using their mid-band to get more data. Not as fast as the gigabit speeds, but it still is pretty fast. For the pros, I can say that the speeds, when they're like going really well, you can get really excellent speeds, very fast, some of the fastest that I've seen out of all the carriers. So that was really good. Also, when it comes to the 600 spectrum that they bought, T-Mobile actually bought a spectrum. It used to be used for to deliver TV stations over the air. Now that's used for providing data. It's really good at penetrating through buildings and things like that. Whenever I'm in a challenging situation, T-Mobile or the Lightspeed is the one that typically will edge out and give me, service. Heavy concrete building with, some infrastructure blocking it or something like that, it usually comes through. So there is that. Call quality is decent. It's like a B, right? It's not, whereas the other services may be considered an A or A+, it's still the least strong of all the services. So if making calls is the utmost important to you, I won't say it's bad at all, but once again, it's like a B+, where the other ones are way better. Now, when it comes to the cons, the Lightspeed did have a bit more dead zones, areas than the other ones where I felt like you couldn't actually get service. So there is that. They're far and few in between, but once again, that is something that if you're curious about, then just where there's a coverage gap where there's just no service there, Lightspeed seemed to be the most blatant abuser. It's not bad though. I don't want to over exaggerate something. One thing I can say that does need to be taken note of though is that there's deprioritization that's allowed with Lightspeed, and it is heavy-handed. So heavy-handed that there are some times where the network downright feels unusable. And I actually thought there was something wrong with the service. Just turns out that I was being deprioritized, which is not a great experience. Asked my daughter on the highway to look up a movie time, and she couldn't even pull up Google, which is mostly text, right? So there are some times where the deprioritization can, really, turn the experience off. So to wrap up, basically you have wildly fast speeds, but when deprioritization, it basically makes your service almost unusable. But what I will say is that if you have a situation where you do want to go and use it inside of a building, your best chances, if it's a challenging situation to get data, is with Lightspeed. Now we're going to move on to WarpSpeed 5G or Warp 5G. It essentially uses Verizon's infrastructure. The cool thing is that they do give you priority data. Now when it comes to the speeds, I would get from about 300 to about 700. So middle of the pack, super fast enough to do everything that a mobile phone can do. But at the same time, you're not going to get gigabit speeds. Not that I think that most people would, have much need for gigabit speeds at this time, because 300 is what I use at my home to do everything. It's my fiber network, right? So there's that. But yeah, it's totally fine. It's prioritized as well, which means that if the network is crowded, you won't have to deal with any deprioritization. You will be kept at the front. Definitely, I'm a fan of it. Also, when it comes to call quality, there is a significant lead that the Warp 5G has. I'm a big fan of it. People sound really clear. There are times where I've used the Lightspeed and I've had to hang the phone call up and I'll call with Warp 5G or Warp Speed and it's amazing, right? So that is some of the pros. Cons are that the 5G isn't as robust as far as available everywhere as it is with some of the other carriers like Darkstar and Lightspeed. What I mean by that is that it sometimes switches to 4G LTE a little bit more than I've seen the other carriers do it. The way that the network works is that it kind of lies dormant and switches on when it needs to, so it just won't always be ready and waiting on 5G or 5G ultra wideband. One big thing to note that I have noticed is that it also does have challenges with large buildings, whereas the other ones don't. So you'll be walking in downtown, you got some large buildings around you. Unless there's a tower nearby you, even in my apartment when I pull up, and there's it's a 3-story apartment, I found it to switch to LTE a lot more versus keeping a 5G technology. Now this 5G is actually faster than 4G LTE when it's performing well. So just to know that, it's not like I'm just complaining because the icon is different. It actually does impact the service a bit. So, but overall, I think it's really good for, consistent data speeds if you're out in the open and you're not having a bunch of buildings around you. And the call quality is top notch. I love the call quality. It's not only is it really good, but it's super clear and consistent, and comes through clutch, and the data speed is consistently good, except for when you're walking through large buildings. So now I want to talk about Darkstar. So Darkstar is really good. I actually really like it. When it comes to the call quality, I'll start with that first. It actually is very similar to Warp 5G, which I said was the top one, but I haven't had it for the entire billing cycle, so I can't necessarily give it the full equivalent as Warp 5G yet, because I'm still testing it, but it's really good. It's almost similar, so still in the evaluation period. When it comes to the data speeds, I've consistently noticed that the ping time is a little bit higher. Sometimes responds slightly slower, but no one's gonna notice it. I'm just gonna be transparent with you. I did not pay for prioritized data, and I have not been impacted by deprioritization, at least in my area. Now, if you are in an area where there are a lot of AT&T users and you feel like deprioritization is a thing that you want to avoid, if that is the case, and you actually have the option to pay an extra $12 for to basically have a prioritized version of their service, and I think based on how I use it, it would be great, because I wouldn't have any service interruptions or service slowdowns for that. So I actually think Darkstars are really good. Once again, that prioritization is built into the cost of Warp 5G. So if it's a situation where Warp 5G is good enough and it's similar enough, I will go Warp 5G because the prioritization is built into the plan, versus the Darkstar, you pay an extra $12 to get ahead. But at the end of the day, there are 3 good options, and the ability to teleport gives you those options now without having to change your phone number or change to another carrier. Definitely like that. And that's why they did add the teleport option to the app now, which is an upgrade. I know I said that in a previous video that it's not in the app. It is now part of the app. Love the quickness of that. But anyway, guys, just a reminder that there is an affiliate link in the description and in the pinned comment. Definitely click on that. It'll help out the channel. But until next time, I'm Everton, and I do videos Everton's way. Peace.